Continuing on with our mini-series, Strangest Deaths Throughout History, we find ourselves in the early modern period, from the 15th to the 19th century. In June of 1660, Thomas Urquhart, a Scottish aristocrat, polymath, and first translator of François Rabelais' writings into English, is said to have died laughing upon hearing that Charles II had taken the throne. In September of 1667, James Betts died from asphyxiation after being sealed in a cupboard by Elizabeth Spencer, at Corpus Christi College, Cambridge, in an attempt to hide him from her father, John Spencer. On April 24, 1671, François Vadel, the majordomo of Prince Louis II de Bourbon-Condé, was responsible for a banquet for 2,000 people hosted in honor of King Louis XIV at the Château de Chantilly, where he died. According to a letter by Madame de Sévigné, Vadel was so distraught about the lateness of the seafood delivery and about other mishaps, that he committed suicide with his sword, and his body was discovered when someone came to tell him of the arrival of the fish. On February 17, 1673, Molière, the French playwright, suffered a pulmonary hemorrhage caused by tuberculosis while playing the part of a hypochondriac in his own play Le Malade Imaginaire. He disguised his convulsion as part of his performance and finished out the show, which ends with his character dead in a chair. After the show, he was carried in the chair to his house, where he died. On April 21, 1675, by Matty Doss. By Sutty Doss. By Dayala. The trio are revered as early Sikh martyrs. By order of the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, by Matty Doss was executed by being bound between two pillars and sawn in half, while his younger brother by Sutty Das was wrapped in cotton wool soaked in oil and set on fire, and by Dayala was boiled in a cauldron full of water and roasted over a block of charcoal. On April 14, 1685, Thomas Otway, an English dramatist, fell on hard times and was suffering from poverty in his later years, and was driven by starvation to beg for food. A gentleman who recognized him gave him a guinea, with which he hastened to a baker's shop, purchased a roll, and choked to death on the first mouthful. On March 22, 1687, Jean-Baptiste Lully, a French composer, died of a gangrenous abscess after accidentally piercing his foot with a staff while he was vigorously conducting a Te Deum. It was customary at that time to conduct by banging a staff on the floor. He refused to have his leg amputated so he could still dance. On March 31, 1751, Frederick, Prince of Wales, died of a pulmonary embolism, but was commonly claimed to have been killed by being struck by a cricket ball. On December 8, 1755, Henry Hall, a 94-year-old British lighthouse keeper, died several days after fighting a fire at Rudyard's Tower, during which molten lead from the roof fell down his throat. His autopsy revealed that the diaphragmatic upper mouth of the stomach greatly inflamed and ulcerated, and the tuntia in the lower part of the stomach burnt, and from the great cavity of it took out a great piece of lead, which weighed exactly 7 ounces, 5 drams and 18 grains. The piece of lead is currently in the collection of the National Museum of Scotland. In March 1809, John Cummings, who, after seeing a circus knife swallower, began actually swallowing knives. On one occasion, he swallowed 4 knives, and quickly passed 3 with no ill health. He later swallowed 14 knives, and after some days with abdominal pain, he passed all of them. He finally swallowed 20 knives in a clasp knife case, but after a few days, he had only passed the case. He died after 4 years in pain. On autopsy, a knife blade and spring were found in his intestines, and between 30 and 40 fragments of metal, wood, and horn in his stomach. On October 17, 1814, victims of the London beer flood. At Mo & Co.'s Horseshoe Brewery, a 22-foot tall wooden vat of fermenting porter burst, causing chain reactions and destroying several large beer barrels. The beer subsequently flooded the nearby slum and killed 8 people. Several people also subsequently died from alcohol poisoning as a result of vaporized liquor. On January 11, 1854, William Snyder, a 13-year-old, died in San Francisco, California, reportedly after a circus clown swung him around by his heels. On June 6, 1867, Matilda of Austria, the daughter of Archduke Albrecht, Duke of Teschen set her dress on fire while trying to hide a cigarette from her father, who had forbidden her to smoke. On June 17, 1871, Clement Vallandigham, the American politician and lawyer, who was defending a man accused of murder, accidentally shot himself while demonstrating how the victim might have done so. His client was acquitted. In November of 1872, Henry Taylor, a pallbearer at Kensal Green Cemetery, in London, was crushed by the coffin he was helping carry after he tripped on a stone. The widow of the man in it reportedly nearly went into hysterics. On December 19, 1881, Sir William Payne Galway, the former British MP, died after sustaining severe internal injuries when he fell on a turnip while hunting. On July 1, 1884, Alan Pinkerton, the founder of the Pinkerton Detective Agency, tripped on the pavement and severely bit his tongue, which became infected with gangrene. On August 22, 1888, an unknown Iraqi male died and another was paralyzed after being hit by a meteorite from a meteor shower. His death is considered the only credible case of death by meteorite. On August 17, 1896, Bridget Driscoll, a 44-year-old, became the first recorded case of a pedestrian killed in a collision with a motor car in Great Britain. She was struck on the grounds of the Crystal Palace in London, by a car belonging to the Anglo-French Motor Carriage Company while giving demonstration rides. On September 10, 1898, Empress Elizabeth of Austria was stabbed with a thin file by Italian anarchist Luigi Lucchini while strolling through Geneva with her lady-in-waiting Irma Stare. The wound pierced her pericardium and a lung. Her extremely tight corset held the wound closed, so she did not realize what had happened, believing a passerby had struck her, and walked on for some time before collapsing. On November 29, 1900, a terrible event occurred, known as the Thanksgiving Day disaster. During the 1900 big game American football match between the California Golden Bears and the Stanford Cardinal in San Francisco, a large crowd of people who did not want to pay the $1 admission fee gathered upon the roof of a glass-blowing factory to watch for free. The roof collapsed, spilling many spectators onto a furnace. Of the hundreds of people on the roof, at least 100 people fell 4 stories to the factory floor. 60 to 100 more people fell directly on top of the furnace, the surface temperature of which was estimated to be around 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Fuel pipes were severed as a result of the roof collapse, spraying many victims with scalding hot oil. The fuel also ignited, setting many bodies on fire. 23 people were killed, and over 100 more were injured. The disaster remains the deadliest accident at a sporting event in U.S. history. That concludes our section on strange deaths from the early modern period. Please comment, like and follow for PT4, Strange Deaths from the 20th Century. Thank you for watching.